Our story starts with our main character, who always preferred reading comics and novels over playing with other kids. He admired the main characters and wanted to be like them. Then one day, he got addicted to a certain game, but unlike many of us, MC was talented and became a pro gamer. He showed good results but was never able to win the championship. No matter how hard he tried, he could never become the main character. Until it happened. An event known as the Cataclysm changed everything. Reality became more like a game. Dungeons formed all over the world, and monsters started to come out of them. To resist the onslaught of monsters, humans with the ability to use swords and magic started to appear, called mana users. Quickly, mana users became more popular than celebrities and athletes. They were the main characters that our MC dreamed of becoming, so he decides to become a mana user. 8 years later, we see our MC's dreams have been utterly crushed. He finds out he only has 7 mana and talents that are useless in combat. He lashes out, wondering why he had to go through so much suffering just to get trash abilities. He decides to wake up from his fantasies and goes home to get some rest before work the next day. When he gets home, he is welcomed by a woman he doesn't recognize and thinks he walked into someone else's home. He leaves but quickly returns, realizing it was in fact his home. She introduces herself as Winry Makina, an agent of the universe, and she says she came to pay respects to him and give him a gift. Our MC is confused and thinks that she's part of a cult, but she tells him that he is the second person to awaken level 3 communication since the start of the universe. She then bestows onto him some skills and disappears. The skills he receives are observation, status window, tolerance, and info gacha. Her voice tells him to check his status window for more info. He follows her instructions and opens his status window, then goes to see what type of skill info gacha is. A weird toy vending machine appears and spits out a golden capsule. He opens it and is given the winning lottery number. Before we continue, take a moment to answer the question of the day. What would you do if you had insane luck for a day? Comment down below for a chance to be shouted out. Now back to the recap. We then shift to the previous day where guild leader Choi Cheol-yoon explains how difficult it has been to compete with other guilds for quality dungeons, and then praises MC because he secured the contract for a recently discovered dungeon. The extras are excited and praise Coates, but a mana user in the room belittles his accomplishment, saying all he does is drink with people, while he has to go out in the dungeon and risk his life. The guild leader yells at him and apologizes for the mana user's lack of manners. The leader then gives MC his bonus for landing the contract with the bonus money. MC now has enough money to pay the fee to awaken and finally become a mana user in this world. A tool known as the Awaker can turn normal people into mana users while also measuring their stats and talents. We see that MC's co-workers also came along to support him, and Yoon Seo-yoon, another co-worker, goes into the machine first. MC notices the rude mana user giving Yoon a weird look. We then shift our attention to someone who has just awakened with mediocre talent and so-so mana. 2 extras explain the Awaker is also called the Lucky Draw, saying how if one gets skills suitable for combat they'll be set, but everything else is a waste of money if you get a backdrop. Seo-yoon then comes out of the Awaker, and everyone is shocked that she has 27 mana and a high number of talents, with her main talent being Satis. Everyone in the room goes nuts and surrounds her, saying she's going to be the next rising star. MC congratulates her for hitting the jackpot, but as they talk, MC is called in to go next. She wishes him the best of luck as he goes into the Awaker. Before we continue, take a moment to answer the question of the day. What's the best weapon in Manhwa? Comment down below for a chance to be shouted out. Now back to the recap. Inside the room, he sees a yellow orb called Odin's Eye, and a voice tells him to firmly put his hands on it. MC is ecstatic that he'll finally become a mana user and accomplish his dreams, but that's all shattered when his results come in. Our MC only has 7 mana and 3 talents, with his main talent being communication. Without any talent suitable for combat, he's recommended not to join a combat team. At the front desk, both MC and Seo-yoon receive mono watches that can track how much mana they have left. His co-worker tries to get him to go home and rest, but he decides to go out drinking. Back in the present, MC is still trying to wrap his head around his current situation. He wonders who was the woman that gave him such a skill, because skills can only be obtained during one's first level up, or by finding a rare skill stone in a dungeon. But there is one thing that he knows for sure. His info catch allows him to get information about the future. He decides to look into it further and use the skill again. Once again, the vending machine appears and tells him it costs 1 mana per try, but he only pulls blue capsules that tell him useless information. He complains that the gacha is rigged, but notices that his status window tells him his stats and others in real time, unlike the mono watch, which has a delay. He laments that he only has 7 mana, so he can't use the Gacha skill as much as he wants. He then uses his last mana on his Gacha and receives super rare information. It tells him that a new dungeon will appear. We've fast forwarded to our MC making his way to the mansion dungeon. As he reaches his destination, the portal to the dungeon appears before him. MC is excited, noting that the dungeon is a treasure dungeon. He says there have only been 2 known treasure dungeons, one at a dragon's den in England, and one in the panda's bamboo forest in China. We are then told that dungeons are only named when they break or can cause a huge disaster, or when a legendary item is discovered in one. These treasure dungeons don't have any monsters, and you're able to get a legendary item as long as you pass the test. Hopeful about his prospects, he enters the dungeon with the unceasing sea of frustration. Because he's been walking in circles, he realizes it's an illusion, so he reluctantly uses his observation skill and finds a hidden door. He enters the door and finds a room full of dwarfs. They welcome him and congratulate him on passing the first test. One of the dwarves introduces himself as Giz and says the second test is to fight him. If MC wins, he'll get a reward, but if he loses, they just let him go. MC is shocked that he doesn't have to clear the dungeon, but they explain that there have been 4 others before him. He asks if their fight is going to be a spar, but the other dwarves burst out laughing. They call humans uncivilized for wanting to fight with their fists, and explain they stopped doing that because the humans would always lose. They lead him to a room with a TV and gaming console and say they'll battle using it. Giz is showing him the controls, and MC recognizes the fighting game they are about to play is similar to the game he used to be a pro at. They hand him the controller, and MC activates his talent, a game that doubles his gaming skills. He wins against Giz, leaving all the dwarves astonished by his flawless victory. The other dwarves ask for him to face them, but he declines, saying he doesn't want to waste his time if it doesn't benefit him. Yet the dwarves say if he can beat all of them, they'll give him an even better reward, by making something exclusively just for him. The result is obvious. MC came out on top. One of the dwarves begins to analyze him, but quickly runs into an issue and asks for some help. They are all shocked to see his talents are game level 2 when communication level 3, but MC doesn't understand, so they explain. If someone has a level 1 talent, it'll take them over a generation to achieve level 2. They tell him how level 3 is, for the most part, unachievable. They say level 3 can create concepts. One of the dwarves can see the future and uses it to see how MC will fight so they can make him proper equipment. With that, they get to work and tell him to wait. They quickly come back and toss him a bracelet. He thinks that they scammed him since they didn't take that long, but they tell him that they can accelerate time. They also give him a bag of mana stones as an extra gift. They tell him to come back if he gets a chance and send him on his way. Once outside, he checks out the bracelet they made him. It's called the King of Arms, and it can change into any weapon the user imagines while also boosting all the user's stats by 10. He's shocked by the effects but thinks it is too vague and uses info gacha but only gets useless info. The next day, he walks into work and finds the offices pretty empty. The guild leader says he gave them a break before their expedition. He asks MC to participate so he can get his first skill, and MC agrees, seeing it as a chance to test out his item. On the day of the expedition, MC uses a tool to check if the information they received was correct. After confirming the info, the guild leader reminds them to let him see, and Seo-Yoon finish the monster so they can level up and get their first skill. The combat squad is made up of 6 people, including MC and Seo-Yoon, although it might be considered overkill for a D-ranked dungeon. The guild leader reminds them that they lost to be ranked mana users on the last expedition, and with that, they begin and enter the dungeon. Once they enter, they are greeted by a lizard man, which the rude mana user easily takes care of. He lets Seo-Yoon take the kill and forces MC to collect all the monasteries as they keep exploring. The rude mana user only lets Seo-Yoon get the last kill. When called out on it by the other teammates, he says he doesn't care. This earns him more disdain from his teammates who plan to make a complaint against him when the raid is over. Seeing his lack of regard and disrespect for the guild leader, our MC wonders what he might be scheming. They reach the boss room, and the leading party defeats the boss in a single hit. The extra safes, and Seo-Yoon got all the experience she needs. That should let him get the last hit on the boss. But as expected, he says he doesn't care, and that he won't let them get out of the dungeon. Realizing what is about to happen, our MC yells at his comrades to dodge, but he is too late, and he gets stabbed by the mean guy. He then launches an attack on the other 2. Dark energy leaves the body of the extras he killed, and he absorbs it, getting stronger in the process. MC uses observation to look at his stats and skills, and sees a skill called Corpse Plunder. MC figures out it was him who killed the 2 mana users in the last raid. He goes on a villain rant, saying he didn't want to rush things but couldn't wait to take Seo-Yoon's abilities. He goes in to kill MC, but his attack is blocked by the King of Arm, and a sword for Seo-Yoon goes in to sneak attack him, but he easily knocks her back, telling her to wait her turn. What will happen next? Find out next time by staying tuned for our future recaps. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more great recaps.